Friday, getting y'all ready for the weekend, and I see what I'm rocking, but I'm trying to see what money be over there. What you doing over there?
Hey man, listen, we talking about thug life, but it's dub life. You know what I
Dub
mean?
life.
Dub life. That's
I
what we
can't even be
do.
mad at Dub's life.
Dub life.
Hey,
Town
2 games
business.
in, but we see who running it right now. We understand
Hey
that, right?
man, it ain't over.
No, it definitely ain't over. It definitely ain't over, man.
All right. Okay.
Man, first of all, I appreciate you picking up the phone, man, because we always keep in touch back and forth, right?
Absolutely.
And then just recently, I saw Dear Mama, the documentary, pop on FX, and then obviously I saw the episodes where, you guys were talking about your relationship with Tupac, and I'm like, let me reach out to my bro and just see, like, did they reach out to you on this particular documentary as well? Because there's been so many, but there's something special about this one.
Well, this one is it was meant to be the definitive docuseries and really telling of the story. One thing that people must realize is that this is the docuseries produced and being released by the actual estate, right? So they have access to everything because they own everything. And then also, with Alan Hughes directing it, for those that don't know, Alan Hughes from the Hughes Brothers, The Menace Society, Dead Presidents. What was the other movie?
He's done a few.
Yeah. So, and if you watch the docuseries, you know that they got their start with us, and in particular, the very first professional job they had was my video for Raw Fusion, Throw Your Hands in the Air, and it was at that video shoot that I introduced them to Tupac, and that's where the relationship started.
So
now Hughes.
I'm great. I didn't mean to interrupt, but how did your relationship, how did you find those cats for you?
Well, it was crazy because, when we were looking for directors for our first video, for those, this younger cats, back in the day, we used to have these things called VHS, VHS tapes.
I know all about them.
And so, we had a bunch of VHS tapes of demos from different directors. And we had this one VHS tape of these two kids out of I think they were at USC Film School or something like that. But they had two shorts. One was called Menace to Society and the other one was called The Drive-By. Yeah. Right. And we liked it and we gave them a shot. And that was their first job. So they did our first 2 videos, Throw Your Hands in the Air, and they did Rockin' to the PM from Raw Fusion. And then from there, they went on to do for Tupac, When the Homies Calls, Trapped, and Brenda's Got a Baby.
Yeah. And the Brenda's Got a Baby, like every time I hear that song and everything, like, were you there when he actually recorded that? When Tupac recorded that record?
Well, I'm on the song.
Right, I know you on the song, but I mean, like, I meant to say when he actually wrote it. You know what I mean? Like,
well, when he was writing it, he told me that, he told me the story that he had read it in the New York Times, and it was a true story, right? And it just touched him enough to where he wanted to write. So I was around him as he was writing the song. Yeah. Because he had wrote the song before we went in the studio. But in the studio, how the vocals and everything, it just happened real organically. We were hanging out, and Dave Hollister, who's singing on the song with he's the male voice on that song with Ronise Levias, who was also a member of Digital Underground, and she sang on songs with us. She sang on Rockin' to the PM. But we were just there hanging out, and in the studio booth, not in the booth where you record, but in the actual studio. Yeah. We were just vibing, and they started kind of like singing that part, Brenda, and all of that. Like it was, they went to church in the studio, and Pac was like, "Can y'all do that in there?" And they went in and they did it, because originally, when he recorded it, there was no hook. He just wanted to get the story off. It was one verse. It was produced by Big D, Dion Evans, rest in peace. Big D, the Impossible. He was Pac's first producer, first DJ. I actually introduced those two guys. I put those two guys together because I went to, Dion, we went to high school together. He was from the same neighborhood that I lived in from the time we were like 14, 15 years old. So, Dion, really great friend of mine. Yeah. He produced Changes originally. He produced Do for Love, almost the whole original Tupacalypse Now album.
And all the ones you're naming just like bangers too. It's just like
When My Homies Call, he did
yeah,
that. Yeah, D was dope. Dion actually produced for he produced Neo's original album when Neo's first album.
yeah.
Dion produced that. He did a lot of stuff behind the scenes with Digital Underground. He produced for Raw Fusion. So,
Okay. And the thing is too is like you think about that. I can't even imagine hearing Brenda's Got a Baby without that hook. Because
without
to
that
me,
part, right?
yeah, I mean it just fits so
Crazy.
perfect. But for you to be like, this is how it actually came to life in the studio at that moment.
Yeah, it was just spur of the moment.
Wow. And like
And he
you introduced Tupac to a lot of people. That's obvious. He started with you guys. So as he
right.
gets with Death Row and he's doing this thing, he's with Dre and with Snoop. Were you guys' relationship still as close? Did y'all communicate as much during that time?
It wasn't. After Pac went to jail, he was in jail in New York. And, during that time, it was also a period where Digital Underground was in flux. We had got dropped from Tommy Boy. So that was happening with him, and I was dealing with my thing. So I couldn't afford to go visit him in New York. Shock went to visit him, and a few people did.
Yeah.
Me personally, I couldn't get out there to visit him. Right. So the whole time he was locked up, I didn't really talk to him. And then when he got out, he went straight from jail to that life.
Yeah,
he went right into that. And so during that time, we spoke a couple of times on the phone during the recording process. Well, not even the recording process. He came out and he did that album in like 2 weeks, 10 days, he said.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, which is super crazy. Double album in 10 days. That shows you what his work ethic was like and his focus to just come right out, being locked up and be able to focus on just getting an album done.
Hop right in the booth and get it done. And I think about that. Like I'm glad you brought up his work ethic because I always feel like people say they feel like he had to get so much done almost as if he didn't know he didn't have a lot of time here because he was always like, we got to get this done.
Well, that's how he lived it.
Yeah.
He was like, now. And maybe he felt he knew something that we didn't, or he knew that. From what I understand, like I said, I never spent any time around Death Row in that environment. I spoke to him on the phone. He invited me down once or twice. And, me hearing about what that environment was like, I chose not to.
Yeah.
But, I feel like at some point, maybe he did realize that he was in a situation that maybe he might not come out of it on the other end. I do not know for sure.
And I feel like you would probably get an idea that even from a distance, just seeing like his actions and stuff, saying like, this ain't the Pac we kind of like came up with. Was there a time we kind of felt that or no?
Absolutely felt that, especially when I heard that album. It was a complete departure of what we were used to. Pac always would talk, give you the real about the lifestyle of growing up in our communities and choices that you make or choices that you have to make to survive. But there was also like a consequence to every, and there was a balance. Felt like All Eyes on Me, when I first heard it, it sounded vengeful. It sounded a little different, right? And he later, when I saw him, he later admitted, he was like, he just had to get it off his chest. And that was that. He was moving on.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Wow. Money be hanging out with the KDAY Morning Show here at 935 KDAY. We see he rocking his Dubs Life, Thubs, whatever you want to call it over there. Look at that. Hey.
We call it champions gear over here.
We got to talk about this right here. We're going to see what's going to happen for game 3.
Yeah, I call that, what you wearing is retro champion.
It really is, but it's still part of Laker Nation. But we're about to get another chip. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, I'm a LeBron fan.
Right.
So if we don't win it, I would hope that LeBron wins it.
Okay. And look, obviously you love
not
sports.
The Lakers, LeBron. I wish he could win it by himself. Nah.
Always been a LeBron James fan, though?
Always been a LeBron James fan.
I got so much respect for the way he approaches the game and gets everyone involved. I really do.
He's the best, greatest of all time.
Okay, let me ask you this then. If he wins another chip for the Lakers, is that worthy enough of him getting a statue, or you think he should never get that as a Laker?
He should have been at a statue.
In front of the Crypto.com arena?
See, you ask me a question. Don't ask me a question and then doubt my answer. I'm not a Lakers fan. I'm not passionate like that. I don't care.
LeBron should have. He should have one in Miami. That's a
conversation that you have to have with another Lakers fan. That'll be like, yeah, right next to Chip Turns, bro.
Okay, I respect that money, V. All right, man, let's talk about Digital Underground. Obviously, you came here, I think about a year or so ago with Young Hump, and then we had a chance to chop it up and everything.
Word.
When did Young Hump come into play? And is there a story behind that for those that may not know?
There is a story that comes into play. Shout out to Young Hump. You know, we still rocking big things for 2023 and beyond, already in place. A lot of people don't know that Shock G actually put us together. It was his idea that we work together. And Shock has known Young Hump by way of his dad since he was a kid.
Okay.
Right. And, you know, when there was talk of this movie, All Eyes on Me, so to go back to like 20, even though the movie came out in 2016, they began sort of like talking about it in like 2014. And actually, I knew about it like in 2011 or yeah, I knew that it was being worked on years in advance because I got approached about it. But Shock was mentoring Young Hump to actually play the role of him in the movie, you know, because, you know, they similar build and everything. And it just so happened that Young Hump was actually a dope MC. So right around that time when Shock and I decided that we were going to take a break sort of from each other, right? Shock wanted to explore the more musical side. Genius musician. That's all he really wanted to do was play the keyboard, right? And just play music. And I was more wanted to keep it traditional hip hop in the way that, you know, with the records and the DJ and all of that. So Shock approached me one day and was like, bro, you know, I got a guy, he, you know, you can do the show the way that you want to do it, and I can kind of go experiment and do my thing. And then later on, he even said, like, it'll be perfect that you guys work together because eventually we were planning to do like a reunion. And like I said, Shock always wanted to just be Shock G. You know, it just so happened that this Humpty Hump character took a life of its own.
Yeah.
But then he had to play that character because no one can do it. You know, and throughout our careers, we always had, that's why we were able to fool people to think that it was two people for so long, because his brother would do it or he had friends. Like, we always had another person that could do interviews or be on stage, and we could kind of pull okie doke for so long. But we could never find someone that looked like him and could actually spit, right?
Yeah.
Finally found Young Hump. And, you know, Shock was excited. He was like, y'all do that. We do the reunion. He can do the Humpty parts, and I could just stay behind the keyboard and play and do what I love to do.
True.
And I always tell people, one thing that Shock said, he never got to play the Humpty dance bass line live on the stage because he always had to be Humpty Hump.
Yeah.
One of the things that he was most proud of, creating that bass line and that funk that he created, he was never able to perform it live because he always had to play this character.
Yeah.
And I say character because Humpty Hump is a character like Batman is a character, or like James Bond is a character, meaning that, you know, James Bond, whether it's Sean Connery, Pierce Bronson, or whoever, it's a character to be played, but it's always 007, James Bond. Batman, how many Batmans have we had? Right?
Yeah, quite
so
a
Humpty
few,
Hump is not a real person, it's a character, right? And Shock, because he's always forward thinking, he took it a step further and said, matter of fact, I don't want you to be Humpty Hump. I want you to create another character, Young Hump, who is a relative, not his son in real life or in the lineage of Digital Underground lore. Young Hump is a relative of Humpty Hump. You know, not his son, but a younger relative. Let's say nephew or cousin or something like that. But he has his own personality. He has his own style of dress. So when you see Young Hump on stage, he's not trying to be Humpty Hump. He does the songs and performs the song, the hits,
Yeah.
right? But as a character, Young Hump is its own unique character. And they've actually performed on stage together.
That is so dope. Do you recall the moment that this character was created?
Um, the Young Hump character or
No,
the
no,
Humpty
no.
Hump character?
Yeah, the Humpty Hump character.
Yes. When you see, go back and watch the Do What You Like video, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where Humpty Hump was introduced. But during that video, he didn't have a name for that character. So when we did that video, remember when we were getting ready for the video, we were in like uptown Berkeley in the Bay Area,
Mm-hmm.
where UC Berkeley is, and they had like this area kind of like, you know, like the store, sort of like how Melrose used to be back in the day, have all these boutiques and vintage shops. So we go up there shopping, and we went to one place and they had like a bucket of all these different noses. And he picked the Groucho Marx nose, a pig nose, this hat, this scarf, and he just put it together. And after the video, people were like, "Well, who's that guy?" Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he created the name and the character after we shot the video. So when you see Humpty Hump in the Do What You Like video, he doesn't even have a name at that time. It wasn't until later when we had to go and record the Humpty dance. That's when he got the full name, and the Humpty Hump was officially born.
And the rest was history after that.
Yep.
Man. So Money B, I gotta ask you this, because obviously, like, we all lose loved ones throughout our life, relatives, family, friends, but two icons that you came up with. How hard is it, or is it hard when people see you? Some of the first thing they want to ask you, how was it being around Shock G or Tupac? Like, when you get pulled on and asked those questions, how do you feel? Do you have certain days where you're just like, man, I'm not ready for this right now, or are you ready to embrace it at all times? Because that has to be tough sometimes.
It is, but I understand that people have, these are legitimate questions that people have.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't bother me. Like, even when you watched, if you watched the first episode of Dear Mama, right? And they show sort of like when Pac was with us, and, they show the video footage of Shock and Pac clowning in the dressing room. And then afterwards, because I went to the premiere, and people were like, "Oh, I know that was hard." And then I'm like, well, it wasn't until you just mentioned it, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because I've already accepted they're not here anymore, right? And so when I see it, I just think of the good times, and the love that I have for them and that we have for each other. So I don't look at it and get sad as like, I don't go to that place. When I see it, it brings good memories. I just think of the good times and the good times we had together, and the history that we made together. So it's when I see Pac and Shock on screen, or if I talk about them, it brings me joy, because I'm just, I'm coming from a love place and being proud of what we did, as opposed to, I don't go to that dark place.
Yeah, and what you guys have done is going to carry on forever. I mean, from the music
even
you made,
when I'm not here, when I'm gone.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm most proud of. It's like we created something that's going to outlast any of us in the physical
Facts. 100%, man. So now we've talked about the docuseries, of course, Dear Mama. We talked about Digital Underground. Let's talk about Money B. What else you got going on? I know it's 2023. You continue to grind. Let KDAY Nation know what's going on with you.
Well, I'm always working, and, never, ever will we stop making music. So, I got some new music, not only Money B and Young Hump music, but Money B solo music, and fingers crossed, but we're talking about even some new Digital Underground music of some, because we have like some unfinished work that we, kind of putting the pieces together. And like I said, fingers crossed, but that is what's being worked on. So,
man.
Yep.
You got a hold of those tapes. If you could, man, that would be like everything for your peoples, man. You know that.
Hey, that's why I'm working so hard to try to make sure that this gets done, because at the end of the day, if it gets done, it's going to be the efforts of our collective, when it starts with myself and Gregory, who was our original manager, label TNT Records, but he also assists Shock Jesus State with the fair. So it's going to be collective, along with our entire collective.
Yeah.
Shouting out Mystic, Cletus Mac, just our whole crew. Like we're still a family.
Well, when it's ready, you can come do a takeover over KDAY. You know that any day, bro. You know that. This your home.
Oh man. So yeah. So whenever it drops, I'm gonna be hitting you. Like I said, we got them. And can I put you on the interview? Or like you might not even know, but I'm curious.
What's
right?
that?
Because KDAY, I know, definitely representing and celebrating hip hop, the classics, right?
Yeah.
But what's the guidelines of when classic artists make new music? Because I see it sometimes you do it, but then other times it's like when I've asked, they go, oh well, it's got to be the classics. But then I see classic artists with new music being played on KDAY. So do I got to know you or what? Because I'm definitely coming with it, but I'm a lean because us as legacy artists, classic artists, whatever you want to call us, right? There are only certain avenues and certain platforms that we have that we can sort of like share our art, right? And without it, what do we have? So I'm asking.
Okay.
Only because I know
that's something CC and I have always been fighting for here at KDAY, because we feel like the KDAY artists, if they want to put out something new, certain stations may be like, well, is it a feature with a younger rapper or a younger artist?
Yeah,
because
exactly.
then it makes sense. Well, it ain't about making sense. It's about respect of the culture and the foundation of hip hop, which you guys built. So like that we do like on Double Play Tuesdays, when I got my DJ in the mix, like I wanted to the point where we play one of your classics and then we come right back to back and play your new one. There has to be an avenue for you guys to do that, because where some stations may be open to it, I feel like most of the younger radio stations, not throwing shade, but just being honest, may not play that because, we knew you from back in the day. Well, no, I still got bangers. And you should.
Because I was going to say, how about if the music is dope?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I tell people all the time, how you going to deny that? Like, if it's hot, you need to give it a shot. You know what I'm saying? Because you know where it comes from. So I agree with that. But we got you.
Because, my thing is, that's when it becomes an issue and what we call gatekeeping, right? Because if you're a casual listener of the radio, you hear something new. You don't know who made it. You just hear something hot and new. Yeah. And you have no idea the age of the artist, who that artist is, where it come from. You just hear something new and be like, who's that?
Yeah.
But if the gatekeepers are be like, well, because we knew him from back in the day, we're not even going to give it a shot. I don't think that's.
Oh, that's not fair at all. But even the flip side to that, there are some artists that back in the day when I was at Power 106, early 2000, that we broke their records, and now it's 20-some years later. I'm not going to say any names, but they don't even want to come to KDAY because they feel like they're considered dated if they do, because they try to hang on to the other stations and they'll do features with other artists instead of saying, like, why would you not come do a concert with KDAY? That don't make no sense to me. Your music is from the era of what we play. We play your music, yet you don't want to be associated because you feel like it might date you. So it kind of works both ways and sometimes. Yeah,
it does. And then also for stations like KDAY, I feel like the foundation is built on what we made. So in a sense, it's like, reciprocate. Because and I know we can't, but just think about it. If the art, like, okay, you're playing I Get Around, Kiss You Back, same song, all of the songs that we made at least a few times a day, if not a week, whatever.
Right.
If all of these artists, well, hey, you're not supporting us. If we had the right to pull it, then what would you have? So I think we just, I think that there has to be a way that we all work together and kind of like.
I agree. And I feel like into time of radio, now that you have so many other platforms that you can get your music and listen to music, where it's not just all radio anymore, radio has to be more open-minded like that and have to build that relationship with artists. Like, me, I hit you up directly. That's what we do now. Before, I talk to my program director, things of that nature. Yeah. We've built a relationship to the point where, like, how can we work together and make this shit still survive? 100%.
And regardless, we'll always work together. And that's the other thing. And you know, for me, I never take anything personal, right? But I do wonder and question it, right? And then once I realize it, I'm like, okay, I get what that is, because I am confident that the music that I'm making and the music that we plan to release is good music. So it's not, and especially, and like you said, not to show no shade, but some of this music that even these quote unquote gatekeepers that are on these younger stations, they're our age, and they're running around acting like, yeah, this is hot. And it's not.
Yeah.
It's kind of whack. And you know that 20 years ago or even 15 years ago, you would have said it was whack too. But now you just jumping on it because it's what everybody else is saying. Like, you know, like we should be able to stick to our ethics and still be open-minded, right? I know that what's considered dope, it changes, right? And that's what hip-hop is. The culture has always been a youth movement, which I'm totally with. You know what I mean? But I just feel like music should be judged as music, because people always ask me, you know, what, obviously we love hip hop, right? But then people ask me, well, do you like country music, or do you like rock, or do we like, well, I like good music. I've heard great country songs. I've heard great rock songs. I've heard, I will only say the one music that I can't or have yet to super get into is maybe like classical music, you know, like orchestra, classical.
No, I get that.
But some of it, I hear it, but I'm just saying, like, I don't say I won't listen to anything. Like I'm on a song per song basis.
Yeah,
like,
if it moves you, then I'm with it.
Yeah,
it has to. That's how I was raised. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's just it. That's all. I don't care what the style is, what the genre is, what you look like. If I hear the song and it's dope, it's dope.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, I'm a fan of great music, and I always will be. So outside of that, obviously Young Hump and we are the touring sort of like faction we represent Digital Underground on the road. Okay. So when you come to a Digital Underground show, you will always see, first and foremost, Money B, Young Hump, and then there's DJ Always, who's our DJ. But what, in honor of Shock and what we thought that we were eventually going to do, which is have a reunion sort of tour. Yeah. Whenever I can, you'll always see, depending on the city, because we're Digital Underground is an army, and we have people in every area of the country. You know, we got Element Crew in Reno, Nevada. We got in the Bay, obviously, DJ Fuse, Mystic, Pee Wee. So DJ New Styles from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So if we're in certain areas, you'll see Digital Underground family on stage performing with us. So you never know who you might see. We might be somewhere and George Clinton might pop up. You know, we're sons of the P. We're all part of that family. So no matter what, you know, and that's just how I do it. I make it a point. So whenever I can include all of the existing, you know, the members that are still with us, because anyone that's ever been in digital, we've never kicked a member out of the group. So
if you in, once you get in, you in.
Yeah, you in. So you know, you don't have to, because people didn't Pac used to be in? No, he was all, you know, he never quit Digital Underground. We never kicked him out. So even now, he's a member of Digital Underground. Shock G is the founder and member of Digital Underground forever and always.
And you're going to make sure that legacy keeps pushing forward, man. I appreciate you. I hope y'all gave you some insight on the question that you asked me, man. And once again, you already know, when you're ready, reach out, come through. We do a takeover. We do it right for you.
Right. So, and I know you're going to hate that you asked me the question of what I got going on, because I'm not finished.
Well, tell me more. Let's go.
Right?
We got time.
So, you know, also this year, I'm going to release my autobiography, right? Which is, you know, it's and when you hear Money B autobiography, of course, you're going to think that I'm talking about my life and times with Digital Underground and Tupac. Well, it's more than that, right?
Okay.
It's not a hip hop book. I call it more of an American history book, because it spans my entire life, right? So it's a lot of people know, a lot of people don't know, is that my father was also a member of the Black Panther Party. I went to the Oakland Community School, so I grew up as a Panther Cub,
Okay.
in that environment.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm telling you firsthand what it was like, from being at the school, being a part of the first iteration of the free breakfast and free lunch program, going on field trips to see political prisoners like Huey P. Newton, George Jackson, and things like that.
Yeah.
Then moving on to, being a teenager in the 80s when, the crack epidemic hit our communities and surviving that. And then on to the 90s with Digital Underground and Tupac and all of the different things that happened, and on from what happened after that.
Yeah.
Right. Because so many things happened after that lead to where we are today, and what sort of like makes me who I am today. So you read that book, you'll understand who I am, why I am, and what you see before you when you talk to me. So I'm excited about that. But the name of the book title right now is called A DU Party Don't Stop, because it's like, if you knew Digital Underground, we was always about that life, right? But I just say, life is a party that never stops.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? You think that this is the biggest point in your life, and then something else happens, or you really enjoy that. It's like, this is the best time ever, and then something else happens that becomes the best time that ever happened. Just like you think this is the worst time, but it's not, right? It's just it's evolving. It's forever.
True. That is true.
Evolving. So I'm excited about my book being released this year. Probably will self-publish. So, that's another big step for myself.
Big move for you. Yep.
I'm managing an artist. His name is Lil Mikey TMB. He has new music out right now. Look up Lil Mikey TMB. He's from East Oakland, California. Obviously his music is more now sounding. And not even when I say he's from East Oakland, California, his sound is more universal. So it's not a Bay Area sound. It's not what you think it might be.
So if you hear it, you wouldn't be able to say like, oh, I know that's the Bay, because it has a little bit more mass.
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. He's he has a universal sound, I believe. So definitely check for Lil Mikey TMB. And then it's a lot, but I'll stop it short of I have a Twitch podcast on it's on Twitch, and it's called Way Back Gaming Show. I've always been a lifelong gamer, but on my show I do retro gaming. So I play like the old video games. This is my set, we call it, the Way Back Gaming Show live from Retro Rock. That's where we at right now. And my crew, if you become a part of our community, you are a member of the Arcade Brigade. That's who we are. So come on over to the Way Back Gaming Show on Twitch channel at MoneyB69, and then look out for With the Fellas podcast, which is coming soon. I got to have you as a guest on With the Fellas.
Yes, sir.
Now, With the Fellas podcast is me and two of my guys, Neo Limiter and Eastside Chulo, right? Okay. So, and the show is With the Fellas, but it's about entertainment, community, and Web3, and how they all intertwine and what they mean for us. When I talk about our community,
right,
Black and brown and beyond, but we're really speaking it from that angle of what it means to be a part of Web3, the entertainment business and how it affects our community.
Definitely get me there for that. Then you got to do that.
Like, like financial literacy and also arming ourselves with information before it's used as a weapon against us, right? Because everything that's created eventually is going to be used against us, right? It's up to us to arm ourselves with the information so that we don't allow it, and we can catch information and new technologies and things that happen to us and for us before it's too late. How we got redlined back in the day. We couldn't buy a property, whole thing, just the whole financial system, the way it's set up. We were always behind. But something like Web3 right. and blockchain technology and information, it's still new enough to where we can be a part of it from the beginning, right?
Okay.
So that's what that is about. So I definitely need to have you as a guest on that.
I would love to be on that. Money B, you don't sleep. You got a lot going on, my man.
Yep. And check out Vire Streaming Network, which is a
Okay.
Black-owned network that I'm.
How's that spelled?
part of.
Vire Stream. How you spelling that?
VYRE.
VYRE. Okay.
Yeah, and
Gotcha.
and on top of that, I'm coaching flag football. So if you want to play, nah.
What? All ages or what? What you doing?
Nah, it's 10U. 10U.
10U?
I coach my son's 10U flag
Okay.
football.
My son's 10. He just got through playing in the league a couple weeks ago, balling for faith. Yep.
Where at? What city?
It was out. It was in San Bernardino. It was out in the IE area.
See, he need to be on our team because he's right here. We in the area. We in the IE. We are in the IE, and
we're
if
gonna
he's
have that
balling,
conversation. Okay.
and I'm telling you, we ball. So
Okay.
we 6-1 right now.
Okay.
Heading into the playoffs after we win Friday, tonight. When we win tonight,
Yeah.
it's a wrap.
Okay.
Big things. You might want to come check us out.
I'm gonna have to do that. Have him come see that for real, man. Yo, Money B, I
man.
appreciate you, bro. For real, my man. Thank you so much, man, for taking time out, having this conversation. And trust me, I got you. We got you when you're ready.
Absolutely. Appreciate y'all. Go
Yes,
Dub.
sir. KDAY Morning Show.